All right, so welcome to the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum's live web discussion on engaging youth in careers in the trades. My name is Marie Bilodeau, and I'll be your host for today. So this is a topic of great interest to the apprenticeship community across Canada, and it was seriously highlighted as an area of high importance and interest in our stakeholder survey. It's also evidenced by our attendance today. This is our biggest live web discussion to date, so thanks everyone for joining us. So we do have a few things that are coming up that I'll just speak to before handing it over to our presenters. The first one is, well, it's not coming up. It's actually been launched in November, and that's our Careers and Trades website. I'm pretty sure everyone who's on here must be aware of it, but it did launch anew last November with a new look, feel, and updated information, and it was developed in partnership with Skills Canada. It's a highly visited website, and we're always happy to hear feedback, to receive new content, programs that we can link to, profile ideas. So please feel free to send us any information you think would add to our site. We also have upcoming our Educators Guide. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's a great guide that was developed back in 2006, again in cooperation with Skills Canada, and it highlights some trade profiles. It gives some workshops for educators, some exercises they can do in class with their students, and it's really a career awareness tool that educators can use in their classrooms to suit their needs and help them help their students discover careers in the skilled trades. So that we're redoing it right now. We're revamping the information, giving it a fresh new look that will match the new Careers and Trades website. And at the same time, we're also redoing the apprenticeship guide. So those will be coming up. So we'll be announcing that in Apprenticeship News when that's available. And the main reason why today we're all here discussing this is we do have the upcoming youth issue of the Canadian Apprenticeship Journal in May. And that was possible thanks to a sponsorship by the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario. It will be coming up in May, as I mentioned, and it will be announced in Apprenticeship News and available on our website. So we do hope you'll have a look at that. We have quite a few articles in it. I believe it's our biggest issue to date, and some quality content. A few technical details before we continue. Now, you might notice that we're not using a phone today. The reason for that is to minimize background noise, since we don't have the ability to mute everyone. And I'm sure nobody here wants to hear dogs barking in the background the whole length of the webinar. So to ask a question, which we certainly welcome you to do, there's a little question box in the right-hand side where the webinar console is. You can just type it in this. We'll pull them all, and at the end of the webinar, once all the presenters have gone through, we'll share them with everyone else. So don't be shy, ask your questions there. There might be, if there are technical issues that do occur, which unfortunately sometimes they do, this will be a great presentation, as always, from our presenters, and sometimes, unfortunately, the internet does fail us. We will work to fix them as soon as possible, but if anything goes weird on your end, please let us know in the question box, and we'll deal with it as best we can. Now, one of you already asked if there will be video for this. We are recording this, and there should be video posted on YouTube following this, again, as long as everything is recorded adequately. So far, we've never had a problem on that end. So I'm pleased to be right away introducing our first speaker. Our first speaker will be Richard Wiggers, the Executive Director of the Higher Educational Quality Council of Ontario. He will be discussing on theme, of course, some of the great initiatives that they're undertaking. And again, I'd like to just reiterate the great thank you for their sponsorship that helps make the Canadian Apprenticeship Journal Youth Issue a possibility. And so I will hand it over right away. Richard, it is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. This is a topic that has strong personal interest for me as well. I come from a family of immigrants who were all tradespeople. One uncle was a welder, another uncle built yachts. My parents started a custom furniture business, which my older brother inherited. So I was the strange one who decided to take the university route. So I've had a strong personal interest in it, and And part of the reason we got involved in research on apprenticeship is it also fit one of our priorities here at HECO on work-integrated learning, which is the whole spectrum of combining classroom and workplace learning for students. So just a bit of background, HECO was actually created just about 6 or 7 years ago in response to the Ray Review here in Ontario. And it was intended to be an independent agency which could conduct research and give advice to the government on all aspects of post-secondary education, including apprenticeship. So we've really tried to fulfill that mandate by working in all areas, including graduate education, college, university, apprenticeship, research, and so on. Our major research priorities have been access and participation, quality, and accountability. And to that end, we have, although we have a relatively small staff, we have approximately 20 people here on staff at any one time. We have approximately 200 projects that cross all those spectrums, access, quality, and accountability. And if you go to our website, you'll see we have about 100 that are published and another 100 that are currently underway, including at least four research projects currently underway on apprenticeship, and the majority of those are actually focused on youth and apprenticeship. The major project we've been doing, which covers the whole spectrum of work-integrated learning, actually started 4 years ago. And what we did is we started with a literature review and focus groups and other interviews, which helped us to develop a typology, a framework for understanding the different types of work-integrated learning. In the next phase, we did faculty and student surveys, and both of those reports have also been published already by HECO. We also did an employer survey, and the report on that has already been published. And we're then, in the current year, doing a follow-up survey of the students who we had surveyed last spring. So the graduating students coming out of college and university programs last spring will be followed up this fall with a report coming out likely in early 2014. Now the challenge for us when you look at the typology is that apprenticeship is at one end of the spectrum and doesn't touch very often or very much on traditional college and university learning. So we found that what we had to do is, while we were researching WIL, most of the WIL research has covered all the other aspects of work-integrated learning, but not as much on apprenticeship. So most of the WIL research that I just outlined, the employer survey, the faculty survey, the student survey, covered field experience, mandatory professional practice, co-op internship, but apprenticeship often wasn't being touched very much. And that's part of the reason that we funded separate research projects that focus specifically on apprenticeship. So in one case, we have researchers at Western University working with administrators at Fanshawe College on a particular intervention designed to help youth apprentices. Another intervention was undertaken at Durham College and Sault College. Another one is being undertaken at 3 Ontario colleges. And then the last one is focusing on data from Mohawk College. And of course, this as well touches on only one aspect of apprenticeship, because much of apprenticeship is happening outside of colleges in Ontario. But to the extent possible, HECO is trying to do research in this area and get a better understanding of what's happening. One of the other things that we've been doing over the past few months is we're developing a manual that will be going into Ontario high schools this fall, which is intended to show young students and their parents the full range of options available to them as they're finishing high school. So everything from the benefits of a gap year to private colleges, career colleges, apprenticeship, public colleges, universities. What we're trying to do is make students and parents aware as early as possible that there are many, many different ways to pursue your career dreams and your educational pathways. And the manual is being undertaken and developed in partnership with the Ontario Student Counselors Association. So they'll be making sure it's distributed across high schools and middle schools throughout the province as of this fall, September of 2013. So that's a bit of the highlight of some of the work we've been doing, and there will be an article in the Apprenticeship Journal that also talks about HECO's work in this area, and we appreciate this opportunity to engage in a discussion on the topic as well.
That's wonderful.
That's it for me.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Richard. So we're going to be jumping right away to our second presenters. This time we have a team of presenters who are going to be taking the lead. They are both from George Brown College, and we have Kizzy Bizot, the Service Integration and Development Leader, as well as Rolf Prietznitz, the Director of Apprenticeship and Skilled Trades. So they'll both be leading us through some of the great stuff that George Brown has been doing, and I'm handing it over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kizzy Bizot, as Marie just mentioned, and I'm here with
Rolf Prietznitz, Director of Apprenticeship Programs at George Brown College.
So in the next few minutes, we just wanted to have a discussion about the youth pre-apprenticeship programs that we run here through George Brown College. And we named the title of this presentation, Laying Tracks to Engaging Youth, because primarily what our pre-apprenticeship programs do is really to build a foundation for the youth to find pathways or mechanisms in which they can find a career and get training within the trades. So we really look into doing work that lays a track or a foundation for youth to move into this sector. So the first thing we wanted to talk about is when you're engaging youth, and in particular from our experiences, we've worked primarily with at-risk youth. And so you really need to have an understanding of the profile of the youth that you're working with. And so here is just really some of the demographics of the individuals that we've worked with. They've usually been in an age range between 16 to 30. We've worked with a number of youth who are single parents, who are coming from priority neighborhoods, and who are also living with mental health issues or experiencing violence in their communities. So it's important that you have that background when you're also selecting and engaging youth in your programs. And so when it comes to selecting youth to participate in your pre-apprenticeship programs, there's a number of success factors or attributes that we have found along the many years that we've been doing this. We've been delivering pre-apprenticeship programs here for about 5 to 6 years. And what we found over the years is that motivation, aspirations, drive, and determination and discipline are some of the core attributes that you want to look for when you're selecting you to participate in your programs. And in particular, as we deal with at-risk youth, motivation is key. If you can get a handle on their motivation to be in the program, that's great. And I'll talk a little bit about how you can do that. Aspirations, why do they aspire to be in this program? Many of them do say that it's to change their life, to change, make a difference in their life. Also get a sense of their drive. Are they determined to be in this program? And also if they have the discipline to go and move through the program, especially because the program can be intense at some junctures. So when you're thinking about success factors, or really the attributes that you're looking for the participants in your program, one-on-one interviews is the best way that we have found to really select the right candidates for your program. Here, this is where you can drill down to those motivational factors, to those factors of why do they want to be in this program? What is it about this program that they're drawn to? Also, what is it that they're looking to get from this program? What impacts are they looking for? The other three are other ways that you can select individuals to come into your program. What we find that interviews is the key thing that you need to do to have those one-on-one discussions with the youth that you're working with. So once you do have, you've selected the youth that are going to be participating in your program, it's really important, particularly when you're working with at-risk or disengaged youth, to have ongoing supports and integrate those supports early in the program through to completion. And those supports range from childcare, social assistance, even transportation. If you can figure out a way to get funding for a token to get them to and from the place where you're delivering the training, that's really key to keep them engaged. Personal counseling along the way is really important. Many of the youth talk about wanting to have and discuss some of the issues that they may be experiencing during the program that might be related to the program, or even some of the external influencers. And encourage and facilitate peer tutoring. We found great success when we built in peer tutoring into the program, so students are upgrading their math or sciences or whatever the case may be. If you can have some peer tutors working with them simultaneously, that's really great as well. And also we found that job coaching and transitioning and having those job coaches inside the labs is great, but then also having them outside of the learning environment. So if there's a placement component within your program, have those job coaches out there with them, helping them transition into that new environment. Also, another way to keep them engaged is experiential activities. Many of our youth talk about the practical, the hands-on. They really learn by doing, hence a pre-apprenticeship program. However, the different mechanisms that you could incorporate into your program are taking them on excursions, taking them out into the sector so that they can move away from the lab or move away from the classroom and see the trades at work. Take them to site visits, bring in industry experts and have them do some demos as well. And also simulations are great. We find that the youth really gravitate towards the simulations, and it really helps them to connect the dots of what they're learning in terms of theory and practical. And the last thing that we wanted to note is that the program staff that you work with really does matter. So the individuals that are going to be teaching and training, mentoring, coaching these the youth that you're working with, really be selective in who you have connecting with them. These individuals need to be, I will speak up a little bit. These individuals really need to be aware of the divergent realities that your youth are facing. So they need to be aware, as I mentioned on the first slide, the circumstances that they're coming from, the experiences that they may have had. They really need to be invested in their overall personal growth. So, and they also need to be aware of, if it's not working in this program, what are some of the alternative training pathways that they can be coached on or that they could be advised to take just to help with their personal development. So we really encourage that the program staff that are working with you really do have a good handle to find ways to engage youth. And that's essentially what we wanted to share with you today from our perspective in terms of some of the things, the success factors that we have found in terms of working with and engaging youth, and namely at-risk youth. That's it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you guys very much. We'll come back with some questions afterwards. I am keeping them in the lineup of questions, so no worries for those of you who have asked them. We will come back to them after our final presenter. And our final presenter will be Brandi Johnson from an apprenticeship coordinator for the Grand River Employment and Training, also known as GRADE. And so I will hand it over to Brandi right now. It is all yours when you are ready.
Okay, I just I have that little pop-up screen in the middle. Can I just close it, or will it turn this off?
You just no, it should be fine if you just select show your screen, your PowerPoint presentation. It should pop up, okay, like that.
Yes. Okay. So and you can see my screen, okay?
Your presentation isn't showing yet. If you can go to show my screen presentation, that should work fine.
Okay, is it up?
It's perfect. It's all yours.
Okay, so I just want to thank you for having me join you today. I take it's an honor for me to be involved in these things, and from some of the experience that I had, I really appreciate learning from the experiences of others as well. So I'm Brandi Johnson, and I'm the apprenticeship coordinator with Grand River Employment and Training, and we've established a program called the Work Ready Aboriginal People Program, and as it's titled, Thinking Outside the Box in terms of this presentation, we developed this program as a way to, we were actually approached by somebody, Alex Lalola from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And what he was interested in is to find out if there's any way to, I guess, partner with an Aboriginal organization to establish a program that would make it a link between us and the building trades to start to get more people out in apprenticeship, I guess. And so this has been quite the learning experience for myself, coming from the background that I have. This program is really near and dear to me, I guess, because I've been here since the inception of it, and I was responsible for putting everything together and making sure that things are continually going. So I'm experiencing. I apologize, but I can't click on to the next slide here. I'm trying to.
If you just click on your, try hitting your space bar, see if that will work.
Did it work?
Not from my end. Oh, and clicking the.
There we go.
Oh, wonderful.
Can you see it? Okay, sorry. So the program was established 2 years ago, and the success that we've had so far with this program has been quite something to see. When we go out to the various building trades and their training facilities, the individuals are exposed to theory as well as hands-on, and they're given little projects while they're there to do, and then they're graded on those. So what they've, if I go back into the beginning, in making this program a reality, you have to have an industry partner. And so very, very early on, there was a presentation made to the building trade affiliates, and we had to get agreement for this program to take place, which is always, without them, we wouldn't have any sort of training program with regards to this. So they were really important in this. So once we got the approval from the building trades to move ahead with this program, it was a matter of scheduling the training. So the course is actually an 18-week program with a focus on 12 weeks of trades training, which the students attend the various union training facilities, and along with that, they ensure that the safety aspects are being covered. So there are a number of safety certifications that these students receive that are industry recognized, which is a huge plus for them. And again, myself, I was responsible for recruiting and screening the candidates, and I find that that's one of the biggest things, is to make sure that people truly want to do what they're telling you that they want to do, but also have the skills and aptitudes to do that particular type of work. And I find a lot of it is making sure that they're also aware of what the work environment is prior to going into that. So transportation was an issue with our first program. We had to borrow a bus, or actually a police van we borrowed, and it was a 15-passenger police van, and they say 15 passengers, but I'm sure it wasn't. And so that was a challenge for us in the first program. Personal protective equipment we had to ensure that they had in order to go out to these various training facilities, and we had to secure funding. So I know this is really hard to see here, but this is what the schedule resembles in terms of the different areas and the different unions that participated in the training. And as you see on that, there's 2 days of orientation as a part of this project, and we're actually looking at expanding that. And the reason we're expanding that is because we're looking at potentially making it more of a competitive process to get in. And so that's going to involve a lot more assessments and skills and aptitude testing in that portion. So at the bottom of this, you'll see that there was 6 weeks of upgrading that took place as well, and the 6 weeks of upgrading was in grade 12 math and in grade 12 physics. And the reason for that being is because every one of the industry partners that we have highlights the importance of grade 12 math, and we also highlighted grade 12 physics because we didn't want any of our participants to be limited from, say, applying to the electrical unions because they require that you have a physics. So as you'll see on here, the priority of this program is definitely on health and safety, as the unions pride themselves on health and safety. So this gives you an overview of the certificates that each of the participants gained while they were in the program. As you can see, there are a number of them, and all industry recognized certifications. We had a project that the carpenters have fees in the commercial, and I didn't have a chance to cut and paste that, but you can see that article on the website there if you'd like to look at that. In our first program, we had 15 participants, 14 completed, and now 5 are registered apprentices to date. So the second intake we've just finished. There's been 12 completions. Unfortunately, during the second program, we did have a lot of things that took place in the community in terms of, we do have a fairly small community, and there was some things that took place that we really couldn't avoid, I guess, if you will, but still to have the success that we've had with this program, even the second time around, I'm just now assisting all the students and making sure their applications are out and that we're meeting intake dates from the unions that we're working with. So we were able to purchase a minibus in 2012, and what that allowed us to do was to overcome the barrier of transportation from them being picked up at Grand River Employment and Training and transported to whether it be the IBEW in Hamilton or the UA67 training facility in Brantford. So we go all over the place as far as Toronto to go for training, and we also go as far as Morrisburg, actually, which is about a 5.5-hour drive to get exposure to the heavy equipment training facility in Morrisburg. So challenges for me, I guess, through the first program, again, was transportation. Also for myself, because this is a new area, learning how the union training facilities work, and they are also separate entities. Learning the process for each union was something that I'm still continuing to learn because everybody is different. Scheduling while they have current thing going on with each facility is always difficult because you're asking for people to be able to accommodate another 15 students. So it was the easiest thing for us to do. Attendance and tardiness of students is always a challenge in terms of, you know, finding the motivation, I guess, and I'd have to agree with the other presenter who says, you know, once you're able to find what their motivation is, you know, you really have to focus in on that and be willing to work with those individuals to build that so that they are more and more encouraged and motivated to attend daily and to ask questions. And, you know, it's really important for that to happen. So, and getting honest feedback on work ethics. So as a part of this program, each instructor is asked to fill out a work ethics report card and to share with us and myself to go over those things with each one of the individuals that attend the program. So if there's issues where they're not wearing safety, you know, equipment properly, or they're not, you know, checking their safety stuff, then, you know, that's brought to my attention. So that's something that can be addressed with each individual student. So here you'll see 3 apprentices, and this is just pictures and exploring the trade, getting some training, plus the opportunity, I believe, equals successful apprentices. And right now, 2 of these individuals are currently registered apprentices through the union training facilities that we worked with. And here's just a picture of the bus presentation and some of the union training affiliates that came out to help us celebrate. And key points is actually something that was a part of my partner's part of the presentation, but we're not there. So I'm just going to leave the presentation at that, and if there's any questions, I'd be definitely more than willing to answer those questions. And I don't know if hopefully I covered everything.
That was really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're actually going to start with a question for you, Brandi. Now, in 2011, you did mention that you started with 14 participants and in the end had 5. Somebody was just curious as to what were some of the challenges or what happened to the other 9, basically, and maybe some lessons learned around that.
With the other participants, they're still working on applications, and so out of those 14 that graduated, there's some that went into non-union sectors and are working, and the 5 are successful in being actually registered through the union. So the other people that haven't been registered are actually working in construction for the most part, but they're just they haven't made the application or haven't been accepted at this point in time into one of the trade unions.
Perfect, thank you. I have one more question for you, Brandi. Someone was wondering, are there 1 or 2 intakes a year?
Currently, we only have been able to secure 1 intake per year, and that is due to the continuous, I mean, it's just a really lot for each one of these trade union training facilities when they have 30 to 45 participants of their own to accommodate an additional 15 bodies into their training facilities. Sometimes it can be quite challenging. So.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. I'll field one more question to you, and then I'll field to another presenter. Since this tacks on to the first question that you answered, Brandi, which trades did the 5 apprentices get into?
I have 1 registered in the with Local 736, which is the iron workers. I have 1 registered with the heavy equipment operators, so that's International Union of Operating Engineers. I have 1 right now registered with the IBEW, and the other one is, I'm just looking at my picture. 1 is currently registered or has an application and is being interviewed. Actually, there's a couple more with just our recent intake that we graduated. We also have 1's been accepted into the pre-apprenticeship heavy equipment program for the operating engineers. So there's operating engineers, the electrical, and the iron workers have all taken people at this time from the program.
That's wonderful. All right. I'm going to field a question. Thank you, Brandi. I'm going to field a question now to George Brown, Kizzy, and Rolf. It will be to you in a second. Now, someone was wondering what was George Brown's experience with the MTCU funding, which is the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities in Ontario, their SOD funding, Support for Apprentices with Disabilities.
Yeah, it's Rolf Reasons. We've been very successful in getting additional funding actually from MTCU. We have a lot of apprentices coming through the college, approximately 2,200 per year. We've been able to provide a separate lab with their specialized equipment for the apprentices that have documented physical, mental health, neurological learning, or medical or hearing disability. And we've been very accommodating so far.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to head back to Brandi right now and ask her another question. So somebody was wondering, the completers, why haven't their registrations been accepted? Is there another challenge on that level, or was it just a choice that they decided to go elsewhere in the end, or what's your experience on that end?
There were a couple of different challenges with regards to the first intake, and one was, again, not being informed of when the intakes were on my part. So there was a little bit of a breakdown of communication between myself and getting the intake dates from the actual unions themselves in order to meet the deadlines. And so that was one issue that came up. One of the other issues that came up was just there wasn't a component in the program, in the very first program, where we ensured that the individuals had their updated resumes, had all the, well, we were keeping track of the safety certifications, and we did have them work on their updated resumes. But what we changed from the first one to this one is we ensured that each one of the individuals established a portfolio, so that now when we're made aware of the intake dates, the individual can reference their portfolio, get everything together, and because quite a few of the unions require you to apply in person, of the ones that I still work with here. So in order for them to have everything together to go down in order to apply, we had to make sure that that was getting together too. So we actually expanded the second part of the program to include that as a mandatory component of the program, because the first program, after it was a graduation date, and then all of a sudden I didn't see anybody anymore, and I'm like, where's all my applicants? Where are you gone? Because I had people that were waiting for applications on the union side. So in terms of getting them in, and that was a challenge in the beginning, but it's something that we've seen as being an issue. So with this time around, we've kind of worked out a different method to getting the applications in, as opposed to just waiting for the intake dates. I automatically send them through and have them apply in person, whatever the application process is, and then I'm able to. I also include a letter of recommendation with each individual, so that whoever's reviewing them knows that they've been part of the program.
Perfect. Thank you, Brandi. Next, we have a question for Richard. We don't want you to feel left out, of course. I do have some fielded here, but the first one we're going to ask is, somebody's wondering if they can view your manual when it's available for distribution and where it will be available.
Yes, the manual is actually later this month. It will be going out to all of the major stakeholders here in Ontario. It is intended to be something going into the Ontario school system. So it will be reviewed by the Ministries of Education, training colleges and universities, all the major stakeholders, the Council of Ontario Universities and Colleges Ontario and so forth. And also it will be then completed by August. It will be out into the school system probably late August. There will be a link on our website as well. And if you want to send me an email, I think my contact information can be obtained either from the end of my presentation or through CAF. But I'd be more than glad to send you, especially if we have print copies available, anybody who's interested, a copy of the manual. So it should be out in the field, both available electronically on various websites and in print copy as of August, September of this coming year.
Well, wonderful. Well, that's something we can definitely link to in our Apprenticeship Musing newsletter, which I believe everyone here receives, so we can make sure everyone gets the good word out. Now, Richard, I do have another question here. Have research projects uncovered best practices for connecting young people with young people, or for connecting with young people?
I think one of the things that I've, as an overview observation, is that I think teaching young people resilience is really important, because the fact is there just are no guarantees at all. So no matter how good the job market looks in one area or another, whether that's related to apprenticeship or anything else, the reality is that by the time they graduate or they complete their credentials or qualifications, the labor market can change. I think many young apprentices found out when the last recession hit, as did many other people in co-op programs or university graduates, that if you happen to be coming out in a recession, it may be very difficult even in areas that seem a sure thing. So resiliency is probably one of the things that we're trying and some of the interventions are trying to instill in young people. You know, this idea that you have to be ready to adapt, you have to be ready, have some backup plans, you know, and think broadly about how applicable your skills can be and how they can be applied to other jobs and careers as well.
That's great. Thank you, Richard. We'll ask a question now of the George Brown folk. What is your process to identify candidates? Do you undertake contact with high schools, for example?
Hi, we work very closely with our local community organizations in the downtown corridor. So we do take some referrals from high schools, but generally the majority of our referrals do come in through community agencies or community organizations, word of mouth, and some teachers through the OEAT program do also refer students to our programs.
Great, wonderful, thank you. We do have a question right now for all speakers, so I'm going to start by leaving the line open for your end, Kizzy and Rolf. So do you find, and this is if you have experience in this, do you find that it's more challenging to engage newcomer youth? And what are you doing to engage these youth?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Do you find that it's more challenging to engage newcomer youth? And if so, what are you doing to engage these youth?
Hi, it's Rolf. We do not, as a rule, have many newcomer youth that are not with their families, and some of the areas that we work in, such as Regent Park, a very large percentage of the youth there are newcomers, and we go into the community to engage them, to let them know that these opportunities are available. And we also, of course, work with the local agencies within those areas of the City of Toronto. The City of Toronto itself has a task agency that helps with young people that are perhaps on disability or that have other barriers that we look to help those young people overcome. To be honest with you, we're really not that interested in the average person coming to our pre-apprenticeship programs. We are interested in helping those that need help. It would be much easier for us as a college to have students that were able to find their own employment or their own apprenticeship programs. And we do really concentrate on those that need the help. And that's one category is newcomer youth. And we've been very successful in getting a large number through our pre-apprenticeship programs in the past.
Perfect, thank you. Now, Richard and Brandi, is there anything that you would like to add to that in your experience?
It's been interesting to me, and my family would be an example of that. I think there are a number of immigrants who come to Canada who, for some reason, don't view trades or apprenticeship as a good option for their sons and daughters. So it's very interesting if you look at post-secondary participation trends. Many immigrant communities tend to want their kids to go to university, even though many of them had a very good and successful career working in the trades themselves. And so there is a challenge, I think, in some immigrant communities in particular. And like I said, my family was a good example. All of my parents' generation had very successful, careers in the trades. But they came to this country wanting their children to have a better life. And for many of them, for some reason, the better life was associated with university education and whatever careers came out of university. So I do think, and that's part of what our manual is trying to get at, that we have to try to dig into that perception that the trades are not necessarily, as likely to end up in secure work or successful careers or so on. I don't think it's borne out by the facts, but I think the perception out there in some communities is otherwise.
Just to build a little bit on what was said on attracting different underrepresented groups to the trades. Now, in your experience, Richard, have you had experience dealing with youth who have disabilities that are hearing impaired, helping them gain placements or work assignments? And if you do have that experience, what strategies did you use?
I haven't had direct experience myself, but obviously, in some trades in particular, some of those disabilities would pose a challenge. I do know that I know colleges in particular have done a very good job at helping provide access to students with various types of, whether it's learning disabilities or physical disabilities. But in some trades, yes, it would be a particular challenge. But I haven't had direct experience myself.
Kizzy or Rolf, Richard just mentioned colleges. Is there something that you could speak to here?
Yes, it's Rolf. We've been very successful in helping students that are deaf or hard of hearing. We had a project 2 years ago with the Canadian Wood Manufacturing Council in which we took 15 students through a 8-week program. All the students were deaf or hard of hearing. I hired an instructor that was also deaf, and also hired a technician that was deaf. So we didn't need interpreters. We didn't need signers. Everyone was communicating in sign language, and the outcomes were very, very successful. We had perhaps the highest rate of satisfaction from employers when we went to the job placement component. It was very, very successful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that answer. I am going to field over to Richard again. I mean, this is a general question. Actually, before we do that, let's ask Brandi. Brandi, I want to loop you in. Do you have any experience with anyone who had a disability, and what strategies you helped to bring them into placements?
Well, it's been a fairly, I don't know if it's necessarily a disability that I was challenged with through the first 2 intakes that we've done, as much as it's been a challenge in terms of the literacy skills. We have students here in our community that attend. They may attend immersion schools, which means that they're learning strictly Mohawk or Cayuga language, and so it can become a challenge for us for us to get their skills in terms of literacy and comprehension to where they need to be in order for them to be successful in one of the trades areas. So it really is, there are a number of different things that affect the students that we deal with, right from, we could look at those students as being students that English is their second language, so which would also be related to newcomers coming into the community, or so there's a number of things that we're challenged with, but I personally haven't had anybody in the last 2 programs that we've put in place to work with anybody in terms of a disability, but there are various challenges in terms of what we're trying to do, and I would really be interested to see how we would be able to handle somebody coming into the program that would be challenged that way. I guess that's something for me to definitely think about for the future programs.
Yeah. Well, if ever you need help, I'm sure we can get you some good best practices from this end.
Excellent.
We're going to ask a question. This is a general question, but I'm going to start by asking it of Richard because he was mentioned. And I don't think one of you will correct me if I'm misspeaking here, but I do not believe that we have any statistics that are specifically pointing to second-generation journey persons. For example, how many journey persons parents encourage their children to become journey persons. I don't know that we've ever looked at that follow-through. If I am wrong, I will certainly share those statistics with all of you later. But in your experience, do a lot of journey persons encourage their children to become apprentices? Or do you hear different stories? Like the example provided here is, do they want, and this is definitely in quotation marks, as I'm sure we all agree, something better for their kids? Do you have any ideas on this, Richard? Any hearsay that you've yourself heard?
I don't know of any data, and I would certainly like to see maybe a little bit more research done in this area. I'm speaking probably more anecdotally. And of course my parents are also a different generation, so it may have changed in the next generation. But certainly if I look at my own family, that was, I think, very much the perception there, that there was an implicit or explicit belief that without knowing what university really entailed, that that might be jobs that were more secure, less you know, I don't know what it was rooted in, but certainly I think for some people it is there. But I would like to see some research done to get a better sense of whether that's still the case now as well.
Great, thank you very much. We are running out of time. I'll ask one last quick question. I do appreciate all of your questions. You have been wonderful. They're great questions. For George Brown College, and this is an easy one, we'll end on a soft note. Is there a complete list of your pre-apprenticeship programs that's available on the website or anywhere accessible?
It's Ralph from George Brown. We prefer not to make that available ahead of time. We obviously put the information on after the program is done. The reason that we don't try and have it on ahead of time is that we often have a very specific location that we are trying to address. And we don't want people to change their addresses at the last minute to take advantage of these programs. That's the basic reason why it's not advertised sort of on our website. We do go to very many, in the range of 20 to 30 different referring agencies that are in the areas that we are looking for. So no, we don't put the information on the website ahead of time.
Perfect. All right, well, I would like to thank all of our presenters today. They were great sports. They answered the questions well, and they did wonderful presentations. So again, that was Richard Wiggers from the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario, Kizzy Bedeau and Ralph Priesnitz from George Brown College, and Brandi Johnson from the Grand River Employment and Training, also known as GREAT. I will close on a few quick notes. Some people were interested in asking questions on what exactly is happening, what are the youth perceptions happening at this moment. At the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, we had done a study a while back, a youth survey, to let us know where exactly their perceptions were of the skilled trades. We're very pleased to say that we will be re-undertaking that study shortly. Within the next few weeks, we'll be relaunching the same survey so that we can have comparative measures and data that we can share with the apprenticeship community. On that note, we would of course appreciate help reaching out to our target audience. We are working with as many people as we can to make sure it gets to youth. We are not collecting any personal information, so it's a survey just to help us gauge 13 to 17 years old's perception. So if you have any ideas, you have my email address from the webinar confirmation. Please send it along. I'd also like to mention that we will have an upcoming National Forum Dialogue in Vancouver. It will take place at the same time as the Skills Canada competition, and it's within walking distance of it. All of that information will be in the apprenticeship news. If you'd like to help us make that event a reality, just like the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario helped us make the youth issue of the Canadian Apprenticeship Journal a reality, please consider a sponsorship. We have all of that information, and we can work together to give you a great event, of course. We also have upcoming reports. We just released the Impact of Technology on Apprenticeship in Canada report. We will also be shortly releasing recruiting apprentices in Canada as well as retaining apprentices reports. Those will be coming up in the next in the next few weeks for recruiting, and then next month for retaining. And as always, we encourage you to consider membership with the Canadian Apprenticeship Journal, Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, just for us. We are very grateful of the community's support, and we always welcome more. We like working with you, of course, to ensure that you get what you need and the data that you need, and we'll continue to do so. And please feel free to contact us regarding webinars, any ideas that you'd like to see, or events that you would like to see, or partner with us to make happen. I thank you again very much to you for coming and to our presenters for sharing their insights and best practices. I hope you have a great day.